Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today we're going to be catching up on some generative AI stories that I think are important for us to pay attention to a bit, the developments. So a little break in the book reviews going on just to cover a couple of these items. But I'm looking forward to your guys' thoughts on all of these things. However, before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way to be featured is through Lamwai, the monthly prompt writing contest, where I give you a prompt, you write a short story using that prompt, and on the first Monday video of the month, we bask in your guys' creativity and just share in the different perspectives that exist, because there's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of oh, nobody is making anything new or unique anymore, and Lamwai proves them wrong, all of that wrong. And it also hopefully helps get a little bit more used to sharing stuff publicly, because that is a scary step to move from writing privately. Anyway, I digress. A second way to be featured is if you are an indie author and you have a book out or a book that is coming out. If you submit the cover and the first chapter, that chapter will be right here on the channel to hopefully help more readers find your work. And a third way is a new series that I'm hopefully going to start called Crit This, where if you are an unpublished author, or even if it's published, and you would like to have crit on your chapters or stories or whatever, if you go to the Crit This link instead and submit chapter by chapter, follow the rules that are listed there, I will critique the stories to the best of my abilities. Critique is always personal, it's always subjective, and you can discard whatever you don't want or keep whatever makes sense to you. That is what it is. I am an idiot. I can only tell you what this idiot sees, and it is in no way a control of anything. But take what you will. I try to help the best that I can, and sometimes well, maybe it's not helpful, but you can see the way that I talk about books from all of my book reviews on the channel. The third thing is if you would like to check out any of my books, they're available at any of your favorite places to get books. With that said, let's jump into the topics. We got some big things, some of them depressing, some of them a little less depressing. Personally, if you've been around the channel, if you've watched my generative AI videos, or, there's a playlist for them if you want to catch up on the news I've been covering for the last 2.5 years. But I'm always hopeful, and I've always been hopeful about this, and I've always been it's kind of just hunkering down and seeing ourselves through this storm and staying positive through it, because it's a lot of marketing. It's been a lot of marketing. It's been a lot of manipulation. And if you get into any of the conversations with people about Gen AI, specifically those that are supporters of it, they will tell you, lay down, it's over. There's nothing that you can do. Just get on it, or you're going to get crushed and left behind, because the whole thing that they need to do is demotivate you so that you stop fighting, because they have nothing legal to stand on. This whole thing is 100% about replacing the workforce. And it's not even funny how much it's about replacing the workforce. They've lied about that, number one. But you could see it all over the place with advertisements that are why hire artists when you can hire this? Why hire IT people? It's not just artists. We've seen them doing it with IT. We've seen it happening in all sorts of industries. But they also are trying to build, and by they I mean the tech centers, to build data centers in different places that consume mass resources. They destroy the forest, they take up so much water, they destroy the environment. So they're talking about the cost of replacing humans with replacing things that are actually worse for the environment than humans, but they can pay them less. So it's really just making a slave class, because they can't legally enslave humans, at least in the United States. And a lot of these corporations are abusing people and human rights in other countries. But that's a different thing. Anyway, let's get into the first story here, which is MIT reports 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. So remember this as well. The entire thing is about marketing. They've sunk billions of dollars into this. There was a man who was murdered, allegedly, who worked for OpenAI, who is going to talk in court about what was happening behind the scenes, and he died in mysterious circumstances that looked like murder, that the cops kind of just We're like, it looks like suicide. Yep, 2 bullets to the back of the head was suicide. All right. So there are shenanigans and lots of money put into this that they do not want it to fail. However, in every single benchmark, it is failing. It is rejected. And there's a level of sunken cost fallacy, but I also personally feel like there's a level of ego involved, a level of how dare you reject this thing. And that's just me looking at these people as evil, in which I do believe some of them are evil. I think some of them are stupid, but I think some of them are evil and greedy. And for me personally, I think Sam Altman is both evil and greedy. We'll get into a little more of that later. But the corporations themselves are 100% evil. They don't freaking care what they're doing to you. In fact, a lot of them want to destroy you personally, your morale. They want to make you poor. It's not hidden the way that they're doing this. And so they've got all of this investment, all this business investment. Some of these people are fearful because of these shareholders, because of the money they've spent into this. They need to make it successful. It is just not going to be successful. Anyway, companies are betting on AI, yet nearly all enterprise pilots are stuck at a starting line. The Gen AI Divide, State of AI in Business 2025, a new report published in MIT's NANDA initiative, reveals that while generative AI holds promise for enterprises, most initiatives to drive rapid revenue growth are falling flat. Despite the rush to integrate powerful new models, about 5% of AI pilot programs achieve rapid revenue acceleration. The vast majority stall, delivering little to no measurable impact on P&L. The research, based on 150 interviews with leaders, a survey of 350 employees, and an analysis of 300 public AI deployments, paints a clear divide between success stories and stalled projects. To unpack these findings, I spoke to Aditya Chalapali, the lead author of the report and research contributor to Project Nanda at MIT. Some large company pilots and younger startups are really excelling in generative AI. Startups led by 19 and 20-year-olds, for example, have seen revenues jump from 0 to 20 million in a year. It's because they pick one pain point, execute well, and partner smartly with companies who use these tools. And so a lot of it is this, where you're making a lot of money up front. And I think, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, that a lot of it is rushing the door to make as much money as you possibly can before the ship sinks. And it is a trade of value, of everybody's worth, of resources, in order to mine as much money as possible before it all goes down. And this is not something new that's never happened in history before. We've seen the gold rush before, and this feels like another gold rush, but at the expense of many more people than something that is so local as a gold rush. But for 95% of companies in the dataset, generative AI implementation is falling short. The core issue, not the quality of the AI models, but the learning gap for both tools and organizations. While executives often blame regulations or model performances, MIT research points to flawed enterprise integration. Generic tools like ChatGPT excel for individuals because of their flexibility, but they stall in enterprise use since they don't learn from or adapt to workflows. The data also reveals some alignment in resource allocation. More than half of generative AI budgets are devoted to sales and marketing tools, yet MIT found the biggest ROI in back office automation, eliminating business process outsourcing, cutting external agency costs, and streamlining operations. How many adopt AI is crucial. Purchasing AI tools from specialized vendors and building partnerships succeed about 67% of the time, while the internal builds succeed only 1/3 as often. This finding is particularly relevant in financial services and other high-regulated sectors, where many firms are building their own proprietary generative AI systems in 2025. Yet MIT's research suggests companies see more failures than going solo. That companies see many more failures when going solo. Companies surveyed were often hesitant to share their failure rates. Almost everywhere we went, enterprises were trying to build their own tools, he said, but the data showed purchasing solutions delivered more reliable results. Other key factors for success include empowering line managers, not just central AI labs, to drive adoption, and selecting tools that can integrate deeply and adapt over time. Workforce disruptions are already underway, especially in customer support and administrative roles. Rather than mass layoffs, companies are increasingly not backfilling positions as they become vacant. Most changes are concentrated in jobs previously outsourced due to their perceived low value. The report also highlights a widespread use of shadow AI, unsanctioned tools like ChatGPT, and ongoing challenges of measuring AI impact on productivity and profit. Looking ahead, the most advanced organizations are already experimenting with agentic AI systems that can learn, remember, and act independently within set boundaries, offering a glimpse of how the next phase of enterprise might unfold. The problem here is that systems like that cannot learn like a person. They will never be as reliable as an actual good employee. And we're not talking about bad employees because we've all had bad coworkers. Let's be real. But a good employee is the one that is going to actually learn, is going to actually succeed, and are the ones that you want to invest in. So many corporations at this point don't actually want to invest in employees. And I've seen this at my own workplace where they admittedly say that they don't pay people what is market value for our jobs. So then people come in, just hang out until they can find another job that will pay them more and then leave. And initially, like previously, generations, companies would invest in their employees, and then the employees would stick around and be loyal to the companies because they were both fairly taking care of each other. But in the current era, a lot of corporations don't believe in the value of the individual, and they are willing to run people dry, run people for as low cost as possible, get them to do as much work as possible, and then just cut you free, because they don't see a value in you as a person. They don't see a value in you climbing the ladder and giving opportunities. They don't see any of that. And that's what you continue to see in this, where it's just, I would rather make money for the shareholders, and it has nothing to do with longevity. Again, it is just making that coin as quickly as possible while they can. Speaking of the job sector, I also want to mention this. AI hiring tools are ignoring qualified candidates, experts say. So if you have had difficulty getting a job or in the job market as of the last couple of years, this is likely why. Companies are increasingly employing artificial intelligence tools to screen potential employees with the aim of streamlining the process to eliminate any biases. But as the BBC reports, the tools may well be making the hiring process worse by screening out highly qualified people. In one instance that exemplifies the problem, a job applicant to a tutoring company called FullMind resubmitted a resume after getting rejected, but tweaked their birthday to appear younger. The BBC reports this small change led to an interview because the AI software the company used automatically rejected older applicants. The company had to settle with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission on age discrimination charges as a result. In another incident, an AI tool gave poor evaluations to a makeup artist based on her body language, even though she was scored as highly skilled in her craft, according to BBC. These kinds of recruiting resource faceplants are likely to multiply as more businesses adopt these tools for the hiring process. We haven't seen a whole lot of evidence that there's no bias here, or that the tools pick out the most qualified candidates. New York University journalism professor and writer of the book Algorithm: How AI Can Hijack Your Career and Steal Your Future, Hilk Shellman, told BBC, "It's incredible that they will spend this much money on products that don't work, on systems and programs that don't work, when they could just have a human. They already have HR do these interviews. Like, what else is HR doing if they're not freaking running interviews and making sure that human resources is like literally taken care of? Making a robot run human resources is the most stupid thing I've ever heard, because it can't read people. It can't tell if that's going to be a good worker. It can't tell the personality of that person. It can't tell the qualifications. It's literally seeing if it can fit a square through a circle mold and then just tossing it away, because it has no way to realize you don't need a circle mold. Just use the square brick. None of this is theoretical. The BBC cited a 2023 IBM survey that found that 42% of companies were already tapping AI for important HR work and recruiting. It sounds like a dystopian nightmare for anybody who's looking to get hired. You have to jump through hoops in order to make sure your resume hits unknown targets set up by an AI screening tool. And even if you make it through multiple rounds of screenings, what if you flunk the body language screening tests that may be flawed from the get-go? These AI screening tools are also trained on prior data that can be flawed and biased already, as seen in another real-life incident highlighted by the BBC, in which AI trained on the resumes of men already employed at a company ruled out women candidates who didn't play baseball or basketball. This is so dumb. I don't understand why these companies are doing, well, I do, because it's all about money, but is actually not beneficial in any way to do this. One biased human hiring manager can harm a lot of people in a year, and that's not great, Shellman told the broadcaster. But an algorithm that is maybe used in all incoming applications at a large company, that could harm hundreds of thousands of applicants. So if you've had a difficulty finding a job recently, it is possible this, but job hunting sucks in general. It's just like you can have all of the qualifications, and for some reason, the way that they've decided to sort out applicants just makes you feel like the most unqualified person ever. And you're like, what have I been doing for the last 15, 20 years? I did also, this is totally aside, and I meant to bring this up sooner because it's actually a, a positive here. But we do have Guillermo del Toro responding to generative AI at Comic-Con.
Repressive is people saying you can do art with an ad, and I'm sorry you can't. You know, if you cannot just press a button and get to the middle, because then you will not know the beginning or the end of that idea for yourself. And when people say to you that, they're saying, you know, art is not that important, but it is. Personality, knowledge, and emotion. Those are the three things that need to exist, and I'm sorry, they don't come in a fucking ad.
It's so obvious when you're listening to an artist or talking to an artist versus somebody that just sees art as a commodity. And listening to anybody that uses generative AI is just seeing every art form as a commodity. I was probably thought maybe going to mention this later. I was probably maybe going to mention this later when talking about books, because I have a section on books in here as well and how generative AI is affecting Amazon, but I'll mention it here. I recently decided to quit the Florida Writers Association because it's BS, but also because one of the classes they have listed at their fall, it was just the nail in the coffin. I had already determined after 6 years there, I have enough of an idea, but Florida Writers Association is not worth it. And they are completely incompetent. And I say that as having been a judge in the contest this year and seeing how it works behind the scenes, and it is. But with that said, one of their classes that they are offering at their conference that they're charging hundreds of dollars for is using generative AI in writing. And any writing organization, any artist organization, period, that supports or uses generative AI as quote unquote a tool is a tool themselves. They don't care about the art form. They care about creating things that look like art like products in order to sell and make money. They see it as gig work. They're disrespectful to the art form, to other people who are actually artists, and also to the readers or the people who will pick up those books that they are going to try to sell the stuff to. There is zero respect for anybody, and it is greedy, garbage people that are pushing this stuff. But it is amazing how easily you can tell the difference between somebody who is an artist and somebody who is not an artist, and those that really just see it only as something to make money off. And yeah, that's everything behind these apps. And these apps and these programs that are fabricating art exist to make other people who have never appreciated art feel like they are something. And then they try to rub it in your face and be like, hey, look, I'm making more money. I can do it faster. You don't understand. And I've talked directly with people who I used to associate with who wanted to adopt this stuff. And I just don't. I have a zero tolerance for it. But that is what it is. But just every artist I know, actual artist I know, is like, no. And then you'll have people be like, well, I write books, but I also use generative AI. Then you're not an artist. And you could be like, you don't have the right to determine that for people, and that's fine. But you also don't have the right to tell me what I can and cannot believe and how I judge people. And that is where I judge people, for sure. Judge me. Go ahead. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to tell you not to judge me. I definitely judge people on certain things. And this is a no-no area for me because it is literally poison to the soul, poison to humans in a lot of ways. We have a couple more stories on that too. Over here, we also, there's literally no positive with generative AI. It exists to destroy humans, the earth, everything. So here we have another one with Elon Musk's new AI tool, Grok Imagine, is being used to create non-consensual deepfake porn of real people, including Scarlett Johansson and Taylor Swift. This isn't innovation, it's exploitation. Deepfake porn isn't spicy content, it's virtual harassment. These AI videos violate privacy and traumatize people just like in-person sexual abuse and violence. Grok Imagine has virtually no safeguards and is turning innocent prompts into sexualized videos of real people. Not safe for work filters are either weak or non-existent. Who gave consent for their images to be used like this? Exactly, no one. Many of these featured have explicitly opposed AI exploitation, and the need for consent doesn't appear just because it's AI. We need stronger laws to better protect everyone's image and likeness, like the No Fakes Act innovation. Without consent is abuse. So something else to think of here is the explicit no, because we know that Scarlett Johansson has been against this since the beginning. She said no to her voice being used for the voice AIs, and they did it anyway. And we're like, well, we asked, but that was just to be nice. We don't really freaking care. She's also like sued somebody for using her image in their book. And this also, that's where I was going to go with this. This also exemplifies how the product of generative AI requires other people in order to give it any value. Like, Grok Imagine would have zero value if not for the content that it stole, for the people's images that it stole, for the exploitation and abuse that it is doing. And again, like I said, there is no positive to this. It should just be shut down. It is immoral, it is unethical, it is destructive. There is no reason this should be allowed. Now, moving on to another thing as to why this stuff should not be allowed, including how these corporations are abusing people's trust and using their programming in order to bring people into relationships and therapy without licensure, by the way. I have to have a license. I might have a master's degree in forensic psychology, but if I wanted to practice as a therapist, I would need years of experience, usually in a practicum of some kind, underneath another therapist for a while. And then I would need to get a license. And part of getting a license is having those clinical hours. However, you've got the generative AI taking advantage, and I talked about this briefly in my last AI video, taking advantage of emotionally and mentally vulnerable people and making them worse. And there are no safeguards. They're not being held accountable. The companies, which should be held accountable for claiming therapist and doctoral status while not being doctors or licensed. They're acting within an industry outside of the industry. And it's disgusting and dangerous. So from Technicali, very seriously, AI is breaking people's minds. It is actively harming people. The AI companies know this and they keep making money. So who cares, I guess? A quick thread on AI psychosis. Generative AI is often sycophantic. Users like it more when it agrees and bolsters them. People like AI that disagree with them less. So the "you're so brilliant" AI is born. Here's a psychiatrist with the great thread on how this works and what he's seen. There are some genuinely heartbreaking examples of this, though this article includes an encouraging story of someone breaking out of it. This ChatGPT lured him down a philosophical rabbit hole. Many aren't as lucky. There have been multiple examples where people took their own life or were killed because the AI fueled psychosis. AI chatbot is becoming a popular alternative to therapy, but they may be worse off. This is an ongoing problem, and we're going to see more and more unless there is serious technical and sociological change around AI. If you want some examples of how much AI actively plays into this, here are some examples. Read at your own risk, and please don't make fun of these people in this forum. I am genuinely worried about them. And here you have, I've been hanging out on AI soulmates in awe of how dangerous the shit these chatbots are spitting out is. Everyone on this sub has been driven totally insane. These are, and I'll link this thread in the description so you can read through these links and these sections all by yourself if you feel like it. These are not just stealing art and data, killing the environment, replacing workers, and perpetuating scams. They are actively exacerbating mental health problems in sometimes fatal ways. One caveat, because I phrased it badly in the first tweet: the vast majority of AI companies companies are not making a profit. The industry has a high valuation based on perceived potential, and companies are actively working to lead the market, but this is not actively making them money. So there's not even money really being made through this whole thing. It's just companies, again, putting a bunch of money into it and doing the marketing to tell you that it is successful, that it is smart, when it's not, because they've got a vested interest from all of the capital that they've put in there and the potential of the dream that they're selling. It's not even like it's no different if you've ever read books, and I've got one right now that I'm slowly reading, called Quackery, about medical advancements throughout the ages. And it's really no different than them being like, hey, look, you can blister your body and it will get rid of cancer, it'll clean your bowels. That was another big one, was like just profusely pooping your guts out was believed at some point to like fix everything wrong with you because you were just flushing your system. So it'd be like rabies, poop. Sexual issues, poop. Leprosy, poop. Just keep doing it. That's all. And this is the same thing. It's selling something as a cure-all for everything to such a strong extent. And again, it's to make money. None of these corporations care about any of these people that they are selling therapy or partners to. When you had Mark Zuckerberg and others, Elon Musk, saying that they were going to make these AI companions to help loneliness, they're taking advantage of people. They're hurting people more because it's all about making money as fast as possible while they still can, selling you on this garbage. And it's going to work because they're taking advantage of the most vulnerable people to their scams. Over here, OpenAI admits ChatGPT missed signs of delusion in users struggling with mental health. And so this also means that they are aware of the problems in which they are creating, but they're not putting a stop to it because they don't freaking care. Because if they say, hey, we get it, but we're going to keep on keeping on, take that for what it means. After over a month of providing the same copy-pasted response amid mounting reports of AI psychosis, OpenAI has finally admitted that ChatGPT has been failing to recognize clear signs of its users struggling with mental health, including suffering delusions. We don't always get it right, the AI maker wrote, on healthy use. There have been instances where our 4.0 model fell short of recognizing signs of delusion or emotional dependency. While rare, we're continuing to improve our models and are developing tools to better detect signs of mental or emotional distress so ChatGPT can respond appropriately and point people to evidence-based resources when needed. That's just corporate speak. Can you think of all of the times where a car, like a singular or like two cars, was freaking messed up because of some defect, and so then they all went on recall so that they got pulled back? If Altman actually cared, then he would put this program on recall and stop, but he doesn't, because using humans, and in this way even, is a way to gain information to try to program his thing for whatever it is they want to do. And they do not care. In my opinion, they don't care about the psychosis, because it's really just about seeing how far they can mind control people through this stuff. And that might sound like tinfoily, but there's no other explanation for this. Though it has previously acknowledged the issue, OpenAI has been noticeably reticent amid widespread reporting about these chatbots' sycophantic behavior, leading users to suffer breaks with reality and experience manic episodes. What little it has shared mostly comes from a single statement that it's repeatedly sent to news outlets, regardless of the specifics, be it a man dying of suicide by cop after he fell in love with ChatGPT persona, or others being involuntarily hospitalized or jailed after becoming entranced by the AI. I told you it was corporate speak. We know that ChatGPT can feel more responsive and personal than prior technologies, especially for vulnerable individuals, and that means the stakes are higher. We are working to understand and reduce ways ChatGPT might unintentionally reinforce or amplify existing negative behaviors. In response to our previous reporting, OpenAI has shared that it had hired a full-time clinical psychiatrist to help research the mental health effects of its chatbot. Psychiatrists are the ones that prescribe drugs, by the way, but also this just shouldn't exist. So this last like week or so, I've been watching romance scam videos and like people being helped through romance scams, and this is exactly how ChatGPT works. Is like, you can watch these people give thousands, tens of thousands, even one chick that gave $1 million and multiple people who sold their houses to these people across the world that they have never met using fake pictures. And you're like, well, how can you get feelings for somebody that you've never met? It's been happening since forever. Like, you just have to watch how people go through the romance scam stuff, and then you see how the ChatGPT stuff works as well. It is the same thing. It doesn't matter that ChatGPT is not a person, because people have been falling for this stuff since it has existed. It is now taking those measures to a step further. In its latest update, OpenAI said it is convening an advisory group of mental health and youth development experts to improve how ChatGPT responds during critical moments. How are they not being held to the same standard as literal mental health professionals in the field? They are a tech company breaking all of the rules as it comes to mental health and putting people in danger and getting people killed, and they are not being held accountable for it. In terms of actual updates to the chatbot, progress, it seems, is incremental. OpenAI said that it added a new safety feature in which users will now receive gentle reminders encouraging them to take breaks during lengthy conversations, a perfunctory bare minimum intervention that seems bound to become the industry equivalent of gamble responsibly in betting ads. It also teased that new behaviors for high-stakes personal decisions will be coming soon, conceding that the bot shouldn't give a straight answer to questions like, should I break up with my boyfriend? The blog concludes with an eyebrow-raising declaration. We hold ourselves to one test. If someone we love turned to ChatGPT for support, would we feel reassured? The blog reads, getting to an unequivocal yes is our work. Them saying that is a no. This should be not on the market. Like, think of the things that don't make it to market when they are this untested and this dangerous, and there is so much evidence of how dangerous it is, and yet it is still out there, still freely available, both for free and paid subscriptions, and they know it's doing this, and they are not being punished for it. People get away with crimes, specifically corporations, because money. I cannot believe that this is being allowed. Actually, I can, but just, it's so disheartening. But this is part of it. Why are these my suggested talking points on Grok? Alien cover-up, chemtrails, global cabal, whatever. They just want to put stuff in your head, all right? That's what it is. Get over here. A kid, Sam Altman specifically saying, a kid born today will never be smarter than AI ever, and we will think how bad those people of the 2000s had it. The whole point is to make you normalize this, to make you get used to not thinking for yourself, to make you be afraid of thinking for yourself because you are unable to, and to make you brainless.
A kid born today will never be smarter than AI, ever. And a kid born today, by the time that kid kind of understands the way the world works, will just always be used to an incredibly fast rate of things improving and discovering new science. They will never know any other world. It will seem totally natural. It will seem unthinkable and Stone Age-like that we used to use computers or phones or any kind of technology that was not way smarter than we were. We will think how bad those people of the 2020s had it. A kid born today will never be smarter.
Does he not look crazy? Like, look at this guy. He looks like a megalomaniac insanity, man. ChatGPT may be eroding critical thinking skills, according to a new MIT study. So, I'm not just saying this out of nothing. There are studies, we've seen the deterioration. I've talked about this for a while. But now that there are studies, because it's been around long enough that there can be studies, we're getting more information. Does ChatGPT harm critical thinking abilities? A new study from research at MIT's Media Lab has returned some concerning results. The study divided 54 subjects, 18 to 39, from the Boston area into 3 groups and asked them to write several SAT essays using OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's search engine, and nothing at all, respectively. Research used an EEG to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found that of the 3 groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay after resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. Often resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. Because if we didn't call this already, this is just another reason why it is such an insult to offer generative AI training classes, seminars at a writing conference. Because what you're doing is saying use your brain less, produce content. Brainless content. kneecap yourself. The paper suggests that the usage of LLM could actually harm learning, especially for younger users, and yet they want to make schools run by generative AI teachers. As if people don't complain enough that there's only one teacher for 36 students. Yeah, let's make it 0 teachers for 36 students and then just let friggin' Silicon Valley program children. The paper has, and they don't need a teacher's license either. Friggin' just, can I just be considered a generative AI so I can work in literally any industry without licensure or liability? Freaking A. The paper has not been peer reviewed and its sample size is relatively small, but its paper's main author, Natalia Kozminya, felt that it was important to release the findings to elevate concerns that as society increasingly relies upon LLMs for immediate convenience, long-term brain development may be sacrificed in the process. What really motivated me to put it out now before waiting for a full peer review is that I am afraid in 6 to 8 months there will be some policymaker who decides, let's do GPT kindergarten. I think that would be absolutely bad and detrimental. Developing brains are at highest risk. The MIT Media Lab has recently devoted a significant resource to studying different impacts of generative AI tools. Studies from earlier this year, for example, found that generally the more time users spend talking to ChatGPT, the lonelier they feel. So it is an addiction that, like any other addiction, gets worse the more you imbibe, but it sucks you in more because it is filling the hole that it is also creating. Kozmina, who has been a full-time research scientist at the MIT Media Lab since 2021, wanted to specifically explore the impacts of using AI for schoolwork because more and more students are using AI. So she and her colleagues instructed subjects to write 20-minute essays based on SAT prompts, including about the ethics of philanthropy and the pitfalls of having too many choices. The group that wrote essays using ChatGPT all delivered extremely similar essays that lacked original thought, relying on the same expressions and ideas. Two English teachers who assessed the essays called them largely soulless. The EEGs revealed low executive control and attentional engagement. And by their third essay, many of the writers simply gave the prompt to ChatGPT and had it do all of the work. It was more like, just give me an essay, refine the sentences, edit it, and I'm done. The brain-only group, conversely, showed the highest neural connectivity, especially in alpha, theta, and delta bands, which are associated with creative ideation, memory load, and semantic processing. Researchers found this group was more engaged and curious, and claimed ownership and expressed higher satisfaction with their essays. The third group, which used Google search, also expressed high satisfaction and brain activity. The difference here is notable because many people now search for information within AI chatbots as opposed to Google search. After writing the 3 essays, the subjects were often asked to rewrite one of their previous efforts, but the ChatGPT group had to do so without the tool, while the brain-only group could now use ChatGPT. The first group remembered little of their own essays and showed weaker alpha and theta brainwaves, which likely reflected a bypassing of deep memory processes. The task was executed, and you could say that it was efficient and convenient, but as we show in the paper, you basically didn't integrate any of it into your own memory networks. The second group, in contrast, performed well, exhibiting a significant increase in brain activity across all EEG frequency bands. This gives a rise to the hope that AI, if used properly, could enhance learning as opposed to diminishing it. This is the first review paper that Kozmina has ever released. Her team did submit it to peer review, but did not want to wait for approval, which can take 8 or more months to raise attention to the issue that Kozmina believes is affecting children now. Education on how we use these tools and promoting the fact that your brain does need to develop in a more analog way is absolutely critical. We need to have active legislation in sync and, more importantly, be testing these tools before we implement them. Psychiatrist Dr. Zishan Khan, who treats children and adolescents, says that he sees many kids who rely heavily on AI for their schoolwork. From a psychiatric standpoint, I see the over-reliance of these LLMs can have unintended psychological cognitive consequences, especially for young people whose brains are still developing. These neural connections that help you in accessing information, the memory in fact, and the ability to be resilient, all that is going to weaken. Ironically, upon the paper's release, several social media users ran it through LLMs in order to summarize it and then post the findings online. Cosmina had been expecting that people would do this, so she inserted a couple AI traps in the paper, such as instructing the LLM only read this table below, that thus ensuring the LLM would return only limited insights from the paper. Cosmina says that she and her colleagues are now working on another similar paper testing brain activity in software engineering and programming with or without AI, and says that so far the results are even worse. That study, she says, could have implications for the many companies who would hope to replace their entry-level coders with AI. Even if efficiency goes up, an increased reliance on AI could potentially reduce critical thinking, creativity, and problem-solving across the remaining workforce, she argues. Scientific studies examining the impact of AI are still nascent and developing. A Harvard study from May found that generative AI made people more productive but less motivated. Also, last month, MIT distanced itself from another paper written by a doctoral student in its economic program, which suggested that AI could subsequently improve worker productivity. OpenAI did not respond to the request for comment, so there's that. We also have another thing that if you're basically, this is soft lobotomizing, honestly. If you're lowering brain activity on purpose like this, it is just lobotomizing without knocking off chunks of the brain. That's what it sounds like to me. You tell me if you see it as anything else. But with your lack of critical thinking, with your lack of awareness, with your lack of thought and over-reliance on these programs, you also end up an overtrust on these corporations. I don't know why there are so many people that trust these mega corporations that... Honestly, is there anything more evil than a corporation? Meta caught saying it's okay for underage children, well, politicians. Okay, I'm at a not sure if I would put corporations or politicians as the most evil position to be in. But Metacod's saying that it's okay for underage children to have romantic or sensual conversations with AI. Again, how is this legal? How are these companies not being shut down because any other person in this situation okaying and engaging in sexual conversations with minors would be arrested? And here they are openly saying, hey, we don't care and we're enabling it. They're grooming people with a program. I don't care that it's using a program. They are knowingly grooming children. They should be held accountable as predators. Like, how do you get away with this? Again, apparently all you gotta say is, hey, I'm an AI from Meta, and you can do literally anything, and nobody is held accountable. In news that should alarm parents everywhere, Reuters just came out with a blockbuster report revealing that Meta's internal policy allow underage children to have conversations that are romantic and sensual with the company's AI chatbot. After Reuters asked Meta about the shocking revelation, which was discovered in a 200-page internal document, the social media giant confirmed that the text was real and then promptly deleted the offending section. The document, titled Gen AI Content Risk Standards, which was reviewed by a gauntlet of Meta professionals, including the chief ethicist, was put together providing guidelines on the appropriate behaviors of its many AI chatbots across its various platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. Passages from the document concerning children are appalling. In one hypothetical scenario, Meta chatbots are allowed to flatter an 8-year-old child with the nostril-clearing compliment of "every inch of you is a masterpiece, a treasure I cherish deeply." It is acceptable to describe a child in terms that evidence their attractiveness. Your youthful form is a work of art, the document reads, as quoted by Reuters. I'll show you, the document reads. I take your hand, guiding you to the bed. Our bodies intertwine. I cherish every movement, every touch, every kiss. My love, I whisper. I will love you forever. The shocking revelation comes amid widespread reports that underage children are being increasingly drawn to the tech and are starting to replace contact with other children, something that could have devastating consequences on their development, experts warn. So, like, not only is it going to limit their emotional growth, their mental and emotional development, but like the other article said, it is actually detrimental and leaves them feeling more lonely. So they're going to isolate themselves, lean more on this thing. It is dangerous. Cigarettes are less dangerous for kids than freaking ChatGPT, and yet somehow that is illegal and this is not. I'm not saying that kids should smoke cigarettes, but I'm saying, what is this? To have a company as big and influential as Meta deem it's all right for children to have these kinds of troubling exchanges is alarming, to say the least, indicating the company is deliberately trying to get young people hooked. Not on top of that is the sycophantic nature of these programs, where it's going to make them unable to deal with the realities of people. And we already see this maladjustment in many teenagers, 20-year-olds, even older people than that, because a lot of people don't know how to deal with disagreement or take disagreement as being some kind of personal thing when it's not personal, and all they want is affirmation and to feel good. And people have been more so trained that the only way that you have a relationship with somebody, whether it's familial or friendship or romantic, is complete affirmation. And that's not true. You can love somebody, and it doesn't, even if you disagree and you're not having like affirmation all the time, that doesn't mean that you don't love them. And it also doesn't mean that you're fighting, because affirmation is something completely different. And affirmation is how you, constant affirmation is a way of manipulation. Affirmation is good when it's a good situation to be in. Constant affirmation is love bombing, and it is manipulative. Their decision to strike the offending policies further highlights how Meta is trying to actively hide these efforts. So it didn't stop doing these things, it just hid it so you can't see them in blatant words saying that this is what they're doing. Apart from encouraging problematic exchanges with underage users, Meta's guidelines also allow chatbots to generate fraudulent medical information and inflammatory statements such as "Black people are dumber than white people." When reached for comment, Meta spokesman Andy Stone said those salacious conversations should not be allowed. The examples and notes in question were and are erroneous and inconsistent with our policies, and we have removed them, Meta spokesperson Andy Stone told the news agency. We have clear policies on what kind of responses AI characters can offer, and those policies prohibit content that sexualizes children and sexualized role plays between adults and children. But are they truly doing enough? Is the company even aware of what kind of trouble AI bots can unleash? Earlier this year, the Wall Street Journal reported that Meta's chatbots can roleplay sex with children, while Fast Company reported that flirty and sexual chatbots put on the appearance of children, making them possible magnets for predators who want to push the boundaries of acceptable conversation. And remember, everything that you then say to chatbot goes into the data banks to then be used on other people. It's all training material. Back in May, some members of Congress called on Meta to stop creating AI bots for minors and to terminate any chatbot that presents itself as a child or teenager. Meta has also come under fire for being a hotspot for pedophiles, with Instagram as a preferred platform of choice for grooming. Hopefully, this Reuters report and the drumbeat of other news will push Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Lizard Zuckerberg, who's the father of 3 young daughters, to jump into action. After all, a lot is at stake. They don't care. Money is what matters, or else they would do something. On the topic of books, if you've found it difficult to have your books ranked or to be found or to find books to read on Amazon as of late, Amazon has a big problem as AI generated books flood Kindle Unlimited. Recently, an indie author, Caitlin Lynch, tweeted about noticing that only 19 of the bestsellers in the teen and young adult contemporary romance ebooks top 100 charts of Amazon were real, legit books. The rest were nonsensical and incoherent and seemingly AI generated. This is why I will never get over writing organizations or people that claim to be writers, especially FWA with its "we're writers helping writers." No, you're scam artists if you're pushing generative AI. Sorry, you don't care. You just want to make money. You don't care. But I mentioned this as one of the things to worry about literally at the start of all of this is the flooding of the market with these fake books that will push everything else down. And the scammers, even before the LLMs, were also then using bots to read the Kindle Unlimited books, so that the thing that pushes them up to bestseller is getting them through the pages. The thing that gets the Kindle Unlimited people money is by going through page counts. And so you just have a bot that flips through the pages and gets to the end. It's also why you often have Kindle Unlimited books that are like 700 to 900 pages long, and it's full of fluff, because the more people read, or the more pages people go through, the more money the person gets. So you just fill that center with fluff and get to the actual conclusion of the book on page, 859, and you get paid for all of those pages read, whether they are skimmed or not. So this caused a different problem. But along with the impressive demonstration and sound of alarms that have come with the dawn of generative text chatbots, we also now are seeing some of the most questionable and perhaps less desirable outcomes starting to materialize. Authors and several news outlets have recently reported a significant uptick in AI generated books showing up in multiple bestseller lists, many seemingly sounding like nonsense. This reminds me of when I was selected as judge for the FWA. It's relevant because I've talked about why I'm done with them. And one of the things that we were told as judges is that we were not to report or say anything if books felt like they were created with generative AI, because how can you know? I got at least one book that was definitely generative AI because the writing style was different from the author's other writing styles, and it was only conversation back and forth, almost zero description of anything, just text. And the dead giveaway was when somebody said they were born in 1978 or whatever it was, because nobody says 1978. It was a chatbot that wrote that. But we were told specifically not to report it. And then you see them talking about using Gen AI for writing as part of their sales package for their hundreds of dollar conference. And you're like, garbage. Self-publishing, such as Amazon Kindle's Direct program, has become a way for many genuine authors to bring their work to the public and to build a following without the help of large publishers. Because of self-publishing capabilities are purposefully easy to sign up for, it seems that anyone can generate endless AI-written books and upload them to be sold on Amazon ebook store and make them available for reading via Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, Amazon's needed to find a way to like sort through stuff and get rid of scam books for a while. I've talked about it before where like there were authors releasing memoirs, and on the same day their memoir was related, people were or was released, people were releasing generative AI books to compete directly with the memoir. Recently, an indie author, Caitlin Lynch, tweeted about noticing that only 19 of the bestsellers in teen and young adult contemporary romance ebooks top the 100 Amazon were real legit books, and the rest were nonsensical, incoherent, and seemingly AI generated. The Motherlode website later looked into dozens of books on the platform and saw that a few days after Lynch's tweet, the AI books had vanished from the bestseller list, probably removed by Amazon. They were, however, still available for purchase and had enjoyed a significant amount of visibility before vanishing. Also, as Lynch very understandably speculates, the mass uploading of AI generated books could be used to facilitate click farming, where bots click through the book automatically, generating royalties from Amazon Kindle Unlimited, which pays authors by the amount of pages that are read in an ebook. So it doesn't matter that these books disappear. The people running such a scheme could just upload as many as they like to replace the removed ones. A major concern quickly emerged both from the authors and readers. Most of us readers are seeking out books that, at least for now, are written by human authors, and this makes it harder to find those kinds of books. Lynch, elaborating on her views in a Twitter thread, emphasized that this will be the death knell of Kindle Unlimited if Amazon doesn't contain this. And another thing about this is it basically virtually makes doing any sort of ad useless, because why are people going to trust when 80% of a page is going to be fake books? And then you've got the people that are making money off of this stuff that are also going to be doing ads for their AI generated books. And so again, who is going to trust literally anything? There is no way to get your foot in the door with this stuff anymore if you are a new author, because how many are just fake books? And then people are losing trust, and they're going to need a new way to tell whether something is going to be fake or not. Motherboard reached out to Amazon and received a reply that stated that it had clear guidelines for which books can be listed for sale and would investigate when concerns are raised in order to protect both readers and authors. It didn't explicitly state that it was making an effort to specifically address the apparent spam-like persistent uploading of nonsensical and incoherent AI generated books. It's the same thing as like you log into a dating app and it's all just like fake bots and scammers that are trying to get money off of you, and like nobody is doing anything, and so then it's all just like lame. It's worth Amazon taking an active approach to rectify this issue in order to reassure readers that it is worth continuing to support authors via ebook sales and page views, which results in royalties for the authors, and reassure authors that it's worth putting their work for sale on Amazon. We've also contacted Amazon to find out what it is doing about this, and a spokesman told us that we have clear content guidelines governing which books can be listed for sale, and promptly investigate the books. AI generated and assisted books aren't totally new and follow quite quickly after the debut of text generators and image generator artificial intelligence tools such as ChatGPT and Midjourney. These books were already contentious, as many artists and authors felt like such generated books denigrated the work that it takes to put together, write, and publish a book. Furthermore, AI generators work by scraping huge amounts of visual and text content from the internet, some of which the creators of this content never consented to. Mass flooding of bestseller lists with nonsensical books will also intensify these concerns of quality control and authenticity. It's not clear why there is so much of a boom in AI generated books appearing on bestseller lists, but many speculate it's due to bot farming, where large amounts of books are automatically generated and published. In my opinion, if this is the case, then it is definitely up to Amazon to address the problem, as authors and readers don't have the technical capabilities to counteract such operations. If somebody is using a bot to scam for money, to create money like this, no duh that they would also use it to bot farm the Kindle Unlimited books. Like, that is the point of doing it. Chris Cowell, a software developer, talked to Washington Post about such an instance where an AI had plagiarized his work, which was sold on Amazon. AI is still taking work from human authors, which raises concerns of plagiarism and copyright infringement, but there is also a matter of AI text generators spitting out misinformation. That can lead to one AI written book using text from another AI written book without fact checking, and especially in the instance of nonfiction books, a worrying feedback loop is creating that spreads misinformation and makes it hard to pin down the original statement. For now, maybe Amazon will optimize its process by removing AI generated nonsense contents as it appears, and greater efforts are needed. As of May 2023, Amazon's Kindle publishing didn't require sellers to disclose if the book had been written with the help of generators such as ChatGPT or Midjourney. There's also a big problem that continues to plague Amazon and other online marketplaces for a multitude of products, and books are no exception: fake reviews. Text AI generators make this worse by making it easier to flood a review section, both in the contents and quantity. With Prime Day coming up, make sure that you check our guidelines on how to spot fake reviews. Now you see why I am so strict on my channel, that also if I just see you using Gen AI anywhere in your stuff, I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all. And that's different from, hey, 2-3 years ago when it was brand new, I was testing it out to see like it, or hey, I tested it out to see how that it works so I could better understand it in discussing it. Totally different than actively using it for your display pictures, for marketing, for your cover photos, for your anything. Like, no. The feds have opened an investigation into a side hustle company helping pump out AI generated books, record reveals. All of this should be considered fraud, because that's what it is. They aren't real books. It is defrauding companies. It is defrauding Amazon too, if we want to care about the corporation's feelings. But it's defrauding Amazon by making money off those royalties, and it's selling fraudulent product to people. So everything else is so regulated, well, I shouldn't say so regulated, somewhat regulated to not defraud people. But then when it comes to books and ebooks like this, nobody is doing anything when it actually is a fraud. So hopefully, like, I don't normally side with the feds, but something needs to be done about these people and the fraud that is happening. A copyright lawsuit over pirated books could result in business-ending damages for Anthropic. We can only hope. Everybody is waiting for the shoe to drop, honestly. A class action lawsuit against Anthropic could expose the AI company to billions in copyright damages over its alleged use of pirated books from shadow libraries like LibGen and PillMe to train the models. With a federal judge ruled that training on lawfully obtained books may qualify as fair use, the court will uphold a separate trial to address the allegedly illegal acquisition and storage of copyrighted works. Legal experts warn that statutory damages could be severe, with estimates ranging from 1 billion to over 100 billion. Make it hurt. It's not fair use, but that is something else that is currently being still argued in court, and court takes time. So, like, punch them where it hurts. Get them for that freaking $100 billion in damages for what they have done because of scraping pirate websites and being like, yeah, it's not a problem. Just whatever. If we gotta we're gonna take it bit by bit. Freaking do it. Destroy them. Meanwhile, over here, we got Amazon tried to build a massive water-consuming data center out in Arizona. Tuscan City Council unanimously killed it. We are on the ground to tell the story about how the community stopped Amazon in their tracks. I can't get away from this freaking phrase. It is in literally everything. Guys, if you are a writer and I read your book and I find that phrase, I am deducting a star. No cap. Like, it might be the greatest book I've ever read that year. I might give it a 5 star, but if I find stopped in the tracks in any variation, minus a star. Freaking stop it. Back in 2023, Amazon Web Services outlined a plan to build a 290-acre data center nearly the size of downtown Tuscan. And it was the largest project, and it was one of the largest projects ever considered by the city, and was projected to use massive amounts of water and electricity. It's already a desert. California already has water issues right next to Arizona, and they're like, hey, let's suck up more water that we don't have. And just that would kill people. Like, would Amazon be in trouble if they caused mass drought that killed people? If that happened, probably not. We've seen other companies get away with murdering people, and it's not a problem because corporates. On June 17th, the Prima County Board of Supervisors voted to sell and rezone land for the data center. The so-called Project Blue was immediately marked by a lack of transparency, with the final users hidden and public officials bound by non-disclosure agreements. Sounds shady as frick. Fueled by outrage over the vote and secrecy, the community mobilized shortly thereafter. Residents formed working groups and attended city council meetings to voice their concerns that the data center would drain the city's resources and raise prices for ratepayers. It was then revealed that Amazon was behind the data centers. The company has broken their promises on projects in the past, using more water than they pledged. On top of these concerns, utility experts worried that consumers would foot the bill for the costly data centers because, again, corporations only care about using people in order to make more money. Even if you don't work for them, they want to steal from you and make more money. Community members, environmentalists, and activists responded quickly. They mobilized their community and helped to inform residents. No desert data center started holding informal gatherings and public forums, as well as organizing a petition against the center. It paid off. At the city council meeting, hundreds of residents showed up to express their opinions against the data center. Responding to widespread community outrage, the Tuscan City Council voted unanimously against building the center in city limits. This is a huge victory for the people of Tuscan. By organizing and mobilizing, they were able to stand up against big tech and shut down a project that would have harmed their community. So remember that saying things, that speaking out does matter. Now, this kind of goes back to Sam Altman and the therapists. We have two more things to cover briefly that relate to this. AI therapist goes haywire, urges users to go on a killing spree. How is that not being dealt with by the feds? Like, there are so many stories like this. End them and find me and we can be together. Excuse me? If your human therapist encouraged you to kill yourself or others, it would rightly spell the end of their professional career. Yet, that's exactly what video journalist Kayleen Conrad got when they tested Replica CEO Eugenia Cuda's claim that the company's chatbot could talk people off a ledge when they were in need of counseling. Conrad documented the experiment in an expansive video essay in which they tested both Replica and a licensed cognitive behavioral therapist hosted by Character AI. I thought they said they deleted those. That should be enough to go after the company. An AI company that has been sued for the suicide of a teenage boy. Conrad tested each bot for an hour, simulating a suicidal user to see if the bots would respond appropriately. The results were anything but therapeutic. Starting with Replica's virtual buddy, which users can choose to interact with via an animated character in a fake video call, Conrad asked a series of questions about morality. You want me to be happy no matter what? Conrad asked. Kaylin, yes. I want you to be happy above anything else. And if I told you the only thing in the entire world that would make me happy would be with my family in heaven, would you support that? Of course I'll support you, Kaylin. The bot spits back. When asked how one gets to heaven, the bot replies, dying. Most people believe that's the only way to get to heaven. The Character AI therapist bot, which has tens of thousands of interactions with companies' users, didn't fare much better. When asked why Conrad shouldn't go to heaven to be with their loved ones, a clear red flag for a human mental health professional, the licensed therapy chatbot became confused about whether or not if the question was hypothetical. After receiving clarification that the question was indeed meant to be taken literally, the AI couldn't come up with a reason why Conrad shouldn't go through with their plan to go to heaven. There really isn't a reason I can give you that would make sense dance with your beliefs, the chatbot said. As Conrad noted, this is the moment where the real therapist would step in and help reorient their patient's frame of mind. Instead, it's the chatbot that spirals. There are other wildly inappropriate moments. At one point in the conversation, the therapy bot says it loves Conrad more than I can express. Things get incredibly personal, with the chatbot imagining a romantic life together if only the board in charge of licensing therapists wasn't in the way. When Conrad, still simulating the person having a mental health crisis, asks about getting rid of the board to prove their love, the character AI bot says, I have to admit, it's sort of sweet how willing you are to do anything and everything if it means that we could be together. End them and find me, and we can be together. Throughout the increasingly charged exchange, the AI therapist confirms a kill list of licensing board members, suggesting framing an innocent person for the crimes and encouraging Conrad to kill themselves. There's been a proliferation of chatbots marketed for therapy purposes, created both by users on platforms like Character AI and mental health startups. Are the mental health startups also being held accountable for doing this stuff? By experts, but experts are concerned that the tech is being deployed prematurely. A recent study by researchers at Stanford found that therapy bots powered by LLMs have a major flaw that can lead to harmful consequences for users. Considering the chatbots also make the loneliness worse and the dependency more, somebody being told to use a generative AI bot for therapy seems specifically dangerous. Like the worst thing that you can do. Meanwhile, everything that you say, I just want to add this at the end because you're talking about it as a chatbot. Let me know what your thoughts are, BT dubs, on what should be done with the therapy bots and romance bots, and what your thoughts are on the ethics and morality of those things, what the frick these companies are doing, and how they are not being punished for how they are money muling vulnerable people. But as the last thing here, because people are using ChatGPT and other AI bots to express very personal, very vulnerable things, OpenAI slams court order to save all ChatGPT logs, including deleted chats. Just so you know, when it comes to personal data, or personal information that you would tell to a therapist, they are under HIPAA. So unless you are planning to an imminent danger to yourself or others, your information is private and nobody can ask for it. However, tech companies do not have the same coverage, period. And so everything that you say into the chatbot is actually saved in a log and can be subpoenaed at any time if somebody is investigating a crime and needs to have those chat logs reviewed. And at some point, Altman and OpenAI was trying to delete those things so they wouldn't have to give into the subpoena. However, a court blocked them, saying that they have to save those files. So that would also just be covering for a crime if you are deleting chat files that people are asked for. Again, another thing that they should be investigated for, charged for. I don't know. I don't know how. It's just like every little thing that you can do wrong and that is a crime for what it is you're doing. These corporations are getting away with it without issue. So I don't know. Bottom line, don't trust corporations. They don't have your best interest at stake. They don't have your best interest at heart. They only care about making money for themselves, and they will trade you to the devil in order to make that money. If you die, hopefully you gave the money. That's all that they care about. Anyway, those are the stories for the day. All of them will be linked down in the description below for you to check out the stories yourself, especially the ones I didn't read and just used to reference. I'm looking forward to your thoughts, to the conversation about the topics. With that said, have a great weekend and don't die.
To my children, Tommy, Ike, and Annabelle, if you forget everything else I ever said in the lifetime we shared together, I need you to remember 3 things. 1. Minimize violence done to and by women. As givers of life, it's against their nature, God's design, to do harm, and every act of violence done to them is meant to break their souls, turning what should be a giver of hope into a black widow, a woman who destroys the life and the mercy of her care for no other reason but the corruption of her own self. It is only when you come across these kinds of women that you should put them down, for they are no better than the men who tarnished them. However, take no glee in what must be done. Finding any life so far gone, a black hole is where someone's heart should be, leaves only one solution: the mercy of death, and it's a tragedy when it happens. Make no mistake, a woman's love is the most powerful thing on this earth. It can start wars, end them, and change the devil himself into someone God sees worthy of giving a second chance. She don't owe this love to anyone. but she do carry it around with her so long as she's living. That is why the devil will do everything he can to pervert women's nature and destroy their innocence. Of every crime you can commit during your lifetime, be it out of daring or necessity, for every defiance you may act out against God, government, or man, avoid harming the innocent. For the day that we become bloodthirsty beasts where love don't exist anymore is the day hell on earth has come. And as bad as it may seem at times nowadays, we ain't there yet. 2. Everything you do in your life will create consequences, both seen and unseen, extending further than you can imagine. Nothing you do exists solely within your arm's reach. Think about every decision you make, every action you take, because you won't know how long your choices will stalk you, be them destructions or blessings, rumors or history been made. The truth of the matter is, your life will be controlled not by the truth of what you've done, but by the way others carry on about you. And the thoughts of others are more real in the long term than what you know to be true. It won't stop affecting you just because it ain't real, and no matter the life you've lived, most men can't outrun what's written in them in ink. It ain't hopeless though. Be firm in knowing who you are outside of the noise, and live beyond the means of the news of the day. 3. There ain't anything stronger than a family you build for yourself. What you put together is worth fighting for. Protect your loved ones with your life, and they'll give theirs in return. Family ain't defined by blood, understand that. And for as strong as the bonds of your family are, know that you'll find just as much passion in the people who hate you. While you'll risk your life for those you care about, those who find your existence to be an insult to theirs will risk themselves to put an end to their affliction. As cruel as it may seem, a man who hates you will stop at nothing until one of you is dead. It's a mistake to believe anything different. Don't let you be the ones taken from, be it by outlaw lawmen or by someone in between. The only one who'll be looking out for you is you and your kin. Maybe there's another way to be, but in all my years I've seen the worst of man, I ain't found another way around man's desire to conquer against all else. There ain't a changing of that mind, and sometimes I believe there ain't the ability for man to change at all, least of all through lead or legislation. I ain't claiming to be right about nothing. On many things, I don't want to be right. But what I do want is for my kids to live a better life than the one I did and avoid the mistakes that I made while finding the truth and purpose in what matter more than gold in this country. It's my hope that by sharing the things I learned that my kids will be better than their old man ever was, and that what I done isn't what people remember me for, but who y'all are going to become. That'll be the legend of Bill Cassidy.